Hi, folks. This is Winston again. Um, I'm making another video to Darryl Sloan and also anyone else out there who doesn't believe in the Illuminati or the New World Order or the cabal that runs America or the world or whatever you want to call it. I watched your video, Darryl, on the one that's called "Does the Illuminati Exist?" And in it, you flat out denied the existence of the Illuminati and of any large conspiracy in general. And you didn't really give any reasons except for one little thing you mentioned, and that was something about there's been a lot of wars in history where it could have gone either way. And so I didn't understand the logic of that argument or what you were trying to say, but I don't know, it seemed kind of vague and um, ambiguous and kind of trivial because it's not even a very strong argument, and I'm not even sure what the argument is, but maybe what you were saying was that the Illuminati are not that much in control because maybe if they had a war against another side, if the other side had won, then the Illuminati wouldn't be in control or something like that. That's sort of what I guess you might mean. I'm not sure, but either way, I mean, it's kind of a vague and weak argument, and I don't know why you would jump to a conclusion on something like that just for a little small vague argument. I mean, that's kind of odd. I mean, this is a big issue, and there's a lot of books about it, videos, researchers, even insiders and whistleblowers. And I think you greatly simplify it, and especially since you only cite one trivial reason for your belief. It's like you had no patience to research this subject, and so you look at one tiny thing and then you jump to conclusions right away. I mean, you make up your mind really fast. And that honestly is not the mark of a good researcher. A good researcher will read some of the best books on the subject, listen to some of the best experts, not just on the conspiracy theory side, but the other side too. So they might listen to someone like Michael Shermer of Skeptic magazine, or what is that guy's name? Daniel something. This guy who wrote a book debunking conspiracies. I think it's Daniel Pipes. He wrote some book called Conspiracy Culture, trying to debunk conspiracies, and I haven't read it, but it's probably not a very convincing book. But anyways, the best researchers, okay, a good researcher, an honest researcher, would research the best books from both sides and then come to their conclusion. And I get the sense you didn't do that, and you didn't even read Mark Dice, who wrote a lot about this in his books about the Illuminati, because you didn't cite any of the facts that he wrote about in his book. And Mark Dice is not a crazy conspiracy guy. Everything in his book is well sourced and well documented, and I don't agree with some of his conclusions or interpretations, but he documents and cites his sources, so he doesn't make up stuff, okay? And I get the sense you did no research on this subject and you just jumped to conclusions because you had no patience for it, and probably you have no interest for it too, but that's fine if you're not interested in the subject. If you're not interested in the subject, you should say you don't know. You should say I don't know, not jump to a conclusion and say and act so sure and say it probably doesn't exist. I mean, that's what you said. You said I don't believe that the Illuminati exists. I mean, it's like you made a conclusion and your face looked like you were certain, like you were an authority on the subject, and you're obviously not because you haven't done any research. You can't. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that says, "Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance." So even Einstein was saying you shouldn't make up your mind or jump to a conclusion without having some knowledge of the subject. And I guess, like with other subjects, I get the sense that because you don't like this subject, you don't want to believe in the Illuminati, and you're not interested in it, you just want to forget it and dismiss it. And you're not the only one that does that. A lot of people do that, but it's not the mark of a good researcher. I mean, anybody can tell you that, okay? Um, that's not what a truth seeker does. A real truth seeker will research the best material from both sides, and he'll ask questions, okay? Um, that's something I haven't seen you do a lot of. You see, a real truth seeker, they don't just draw conclusions fast. I mean, they don't draw conclusions fast, and they don't make statements like this exists or this doesn't exist. What a real truth seeker does, okay, is they ask questions. They ask questions of those that know more than them. So you might find like a teacher or a very knowledgeable author or lecturer, and you would read his material and maybe contact him and ask questions, okay? Because there's so much we don't know, and you have to be humble. If you don't know about something, don't make conclusions about it. You ask questions about it. You research, okay? I mean, so these aspects of your personality, I mean, they're very, very antithetical to that of a good researcher or even a truth seeker. And I know you're a good philosopher. You're a great thinker. You, I mean, you have your own theories, your own ideas, and you've read a lot of books out there. But you read books about things you're interested in, and you don't read books about things you're not interested in, like the Illuminati. Instead, you just want to make up your mind quickly and leave the subject. But that's not the hallmark of a good researcher. So it seems like in some ways you're a good philosopher and good thinker, and your books are well written. They're very logical. They're intelligent. But then there's a dark side of you that is just dismissive and closed-minded and just almost a little dishonest too, because if you were honest, you would say, I don't know if the Illuminati exists. I haven't researched the subject, and I cannot comment or draw a conclusion at this time. That's what an honest researcher would do. But you didn't do that. You just jumped to a conclusion without researching anything. I mean, I haven't seen that you know anything about this, and so I just wanted to give you some. I just wanted to tell you that there is documented historical evidence for the Illuminati, and I'd like to name some sources to you so you can look them up. So you can't just say there's no evidence or there's no resources or books about it, because there are, not just modern books. I'm talking about historical books of when the Illuminati was founded. And I'm talking about the Bavarian Illuminati, which was founded in 1776. And even mainstream historians do not deny that there was a Bavarian Illuminati in 1776. They don't deny it, but what historians say is that, I mean, mainstream historians, what they say is that the Illuminati was discovered and then outlawed, and then they dissipated and disappeared, and that was the end. But what the conspiracy researchers say, and some historians as well, is that the Illuminati went underground by infiltrating the Freemasons and the Vatican, and then they also came to the U.S. government as well. And they took over, they started the French Revolution too, and infiltrated the French government. And there's a lot of evidence for that too. Okay, it's not just a theory. There's evidence, and I'm going to tell you about them. But anyways, what I was trying to say is that there is documented evidence of this. It's a historical fact. So at the very least, Darryl, you should have at least said the Illuminati did exist in the late 1700s, but it was outlawed and dissipated and is no more. So instead of saying the Illuminati doesn't exist and never existed, you should have said it did exist historically in the late 1700s, but it was banned and outlawed and disappeared. So at least you should have said that, but you didn't. You just said it never existed, and that's historically wrong. That's technically wrong. I mean, it's you don't. How can you not even know that? I don't know. I guess some people, not just you, but a lot of people in general, are really smart in one area of life or one subject, but on another subject, they're totally clueless and don't know anything. And that seems to be the case with you because you are definitely not well read on this kind of subject, and you do not demonstrate any knowledge of it. And you do know a lot about other things like Christianity, religion, meditation, and a bunch of other subjects you do know a lot about, but on a lot of some other subjects you don't know anything about it. So you shouldn't jump to, like I said, shouldn't jump to conclusions. Now, okay, here are some historical documents, I mean books, about the Illuminati that were written at the time it was formed. Okay, the first one is called Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robison. And John is, the regular spelling of John, but Robinson does not have the N, so it's Robison, Robison, without the N. Okay, and this was written in about, like 1797, okay? And it contains the original writings of Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of the Illuminati. His documents were discovered when one of his couriers was struck by lightning, and then the police found the documents, and then they turned them over to the authorities, and then all the kings of Europe knew about it, and it was exposed. So it had to go underground. But John Robison published a lot of the writings of Adam Weishaupt in his book called Proofs of a Conspiracy. And John Robison was a historian. He was considered credible in his day. So this is something you can read for free online. You can download it on various websites, even on archive.org. Or you can get it on Amazon Kindle for free. You can just download it to your Kindle, or you can order a paperback copy. This is a primary source because John Robinson, he didn't just sit at home and write random theories. He went out there and researched the Illuminati. He talked to people that knew about it and were connected to it. And he even talked to people that were involved in the French Revolution. And what they said was that the Illuminati went underground. It infiltrated the Freemason lodges, and then the Freemason lodges helped orchestrate and carry out the French Revolution, just as they did with the American Revolution. So the Freemason lodges did, it's a documented fact that the Freemasons, they met in a tavern called the Green Tavern Lodge, and that was a Masonic building, and they helped plan the American Revolution there. And the major people behind it, like Benjamin Franklin, for example, he was part of the Freemasons as well as Rosicrucians and the Hellfire Club, and he belonged to a lot of secret societies. Okay, and so the major players of the American Revolution, most of them were Freemasons, probably. Actually, it's pretty well documented, and a lot of the founding fathers of America were too. So, the Masons were definitely instrumental in not only the American Revolution but the French Revolution, and there are firsthand accounts of this. There are eyewitnesses, and Robison interviewed people and talked to people. So these are considered primary documents, as close as you can get. And then at about the same time, in 1798, a Frenchman, I think, named Abbe Barreul, that's spelled Abbe Barre, I think, or Barreul, something like that. Okay, Abbe Barreul. He wrote a bunch of series of books about the French Revolution, and in volume 2 or 3, it was called "The Code of the Illuminati." And in that book, Abbe Barreul also documents the same thing that John Robison said, which is that the Illuminati infiltrated the Freemason lodges, and then they started the French Revolution, and then they started planning other revolutions to overthrow the monarchy and to turn people away from religion towards science. And that's exactly what's happened. So whether the Illuminati continued or not, or ceased to exist, either way, the doctrines and agendas of the Illuminati were carried on by other groups, maybe by other secret societies or by the Freemasons or whatever. But the point is, their goals and agendas were carried on by other groups, if not by themselves. So either way, I mean, there's a conspiracy. There's secret societies that run things, and that's very well documented. Not only in the past, but in the present as well. And there are so many whistleblowers and insiders that have revealed this. And how is it you don't know anything about it? Anyone who has, in the truth movement or the conspiracy movement, they usually have some knowledge of this. And it's not hard to get this knowledge because so many people have talked about it. Not only now, but in the past. Even in the 1980s and 1990s, they did. There are tons and tons of people that have talked about this, and their interviews and lectures are all on YouTube now. So there's thousands of hours about this you could research, and anybody can, and any person with a computer can do it. So most people who study this kind of stuff, they know something about it, but I don't know. It seems like you don't know anything about it. And it's not just David Icke or his reptilian theories or Alex Jones. There's a ton of people. There's a ton of podcast shows. There's researchers. I mean, this conspiracy stuff, it even started in the 1940s when a guy named Eustace Mullins started researching it all in the Library of Congress. He worked in the Library of Congress, so he examined tons of source documents and figured out that the Federal Reserve was a scam and a conspiracy, and a lot of things in American history were lies, like why the American Revolution started, or why the War of 1812 started, why World War I started and World War II started. We've not been told the real reasons, and people like him found out about him from primary documents in the Library of Congress, and then after that, more and more people began doing the same thing. So it's snowballed, and it's part of the conspiracy subculture now. All this information is online, and some of it's credible, some of it's well documented and well sourced, and it comes from credible people too. And a lot of good research has been done on this subject. So you can't say it's zero and doesn't exist and it's just a crazy theory without any basis, because that's not true, Darryl. I mean, it's not true, okay? And I don't know, why do intelligent people like you believe things that aren't true? I mean, that are obviously not true. I mean, I don't know. I guess, like I said, some people are smart in some subject, but in other areas they're just not. They're just not informed and don't care. Okay, so I talked about proofs of a conspiracy by John Robison, and there's also Code of the Illuminati by Abbe Barreul. You can also read that on the internet for free. It's also on archive.org, and it's available for free on Amazon.com. I'll try to remember to write these books in the description so you can look them up, and you don't really have an excuse not to read these books, because they're online for free, and you can't deny that they exist because I'm telling you that they exist. So you don't have an excuse to pretend like you don't know anything, like you're ignorant. because these are historical documents. They're real, okay, and I can give you the link to them, but you can find them. They're very easy. They're real books from the late 1700s. Okay, and then in 1802, there was a third book about the Illuminati, and it was called Proofs of the Illuminati, and it was written by an American senator named Seth Payson. Seth, S-E-T-H, Payson, P-A-Y-S-O-N. And he was the senator in New England, I think New Hampshire, I think. So, this was a credible person, a politician, and an educated person, and he wrote about how the Illuminati came to New England. And you know what? Here's something interesting. I don't know if you know about this or not, but John Robison's book, The Proofs of the Illuminati, a copy of that was sent to George Washington when he was retired, and it was sent to him like in 1798 or something. And George Washington actually wrote a letter back about it. And what Washington said, you know who George Washington is, right? He's the first president of the United States and the general that won the Revolutionary War against England. I'm sure you know that, but just in case you don't, I just wanted to say that. But anyways, George Washington, he wrote a letter back after reading, after he received a copy of John Robison's book. And George Washington admitted that the Illuminati was real, and also the doctrines of Jacobinism, which was, also part of the Illuminati cult. He admitted that it was real and that it had come to America, okay? And he admitted that it could have possibly infiltrated the Freemasons, of which he was a part of, okay? Washington was a Freemason too. So he said that that he has no doubt that there are conspirators in the Freemasons that want to separate the people from their government, okay? And this is a handwritten letter by George Washington that is archived in the Library of Congress. So it's an official historical document, and it's on the website of the Library of Congress. I have the link to it, and I will I will try to remember to post it in the links in the description section below, so you can click on it and see the letter yourself and see that even George Washington admitted that the Illuminati was real and that it had come to America. At least the doctrines of it did, and the ideas. And so George Washington was a very honest person. He did not deny that the Illuminati existed. And I'm wondering, why can't you be that honest? But what Washington said at the end of his letter was that he was too old at the time and retired, and he just didn't have the energy to care about it or pursue the matter any further, because he was already really old and retired, and he had just served as president of the United States. So he and before that he had served a long time as a general in the war, in two wars, the 7 Years' War and the American War for the Independence. So he had been in two wars, plus had been president of the United States too. I think he served 2 terms. So he was just tired of life and wanted to rest and relax and have some peace and didn't want to bother with the Illuminati. Okay? But he was honest in admitting that it existed. So I'm wondering, why can't you do the same? I mean, why can't you be like George Washington and admit that, okay, it looks like the Illuminati does exist, and it's well documented, and I don't deny it, but I just have no time or interest in it. I mean, it's obvious you're not interested in the subject. So why don't you just say that? I mean, that would be similar to what George Washington said, which is that he admits that it existed. I mean, he admits that the Illuminati existed, but he just doesn't have any time or energy to care or worry about it or research it. I mean, why can't you do the same? Why can't you admit that, yes, Winston and everyone, the Illuminati does exist because there's historical evidence for it, there's documentation, but I just don't care because I'm not interested in the subject, I don't like the subject. And that would be honest if you said that, Darryl. You know, to just admit you're not interested in the subject. But based on the evidence, that you can see that it exists, because that's obvious, but you're not interested. If you said that, Darryl, I mean, that would be more honest and real. I mean, rather than say, oh, I don't think it exists. Saying that something doesn't exist is an extreme statement, okay? You cannot prove a negative, okay? No one can. And I know you're into philosophy, and anyone who knows about philosophy and logic knows you can't prove a negative, okay? So to say that something doesn't exist, even if you're saying unicorns don't exist, that is an extreme claim. It's an illogical claim because you cannot prove that something doesn't exist. You know, at least you could. The least you could have said was, I'm not. I don't know if the Illuminati exists, but it probably doesn't, based on my research. You could have said that, but you didn't have to be so certain and say, I don't think the Illuminati exists, as though it were a fact. I mean, how can you be certain about something you don't know anything about? It's so illogical. Totally illogical. I mean, do you think Mr. Spock from Star Trek or Data from Star Trek would ever say something like that? Would they declare something that doesn't exist? I mean, would they declare something not to exist without knowing anything about it or researching it? No, because that's not logical. So, you know, none of the logical characters on Star Trek would say that. I mean, Spock wouldn't say that. Data wouldn't say that. So why would you say that? Can you explain that? I mean, it's not logical. So my point is that, I mean, if you were, I mean, you look very honest and genuine, Darryl, and very, very authentic. So I'm surprised you would make a dishonest statement like that, or maybe not willfully dishonest. Maybe you're just very close-minded, and so you seem dishonest. But I'm just saying, if you were an honest researcher and truth seeker, that's what you should have said. That, yeah, it looks like the Illuminati exists. There's historical evidence, but I don't care about this subject. Not interested in it. I don't want to research it. You know, that would have been the honest thing to say. And also, even in the 20th century and the 21st century today, there's a lot of evidence for the Illuminati as well. I mean, there are other people that have written about it. Like in 1924, a great British historian named Nesta Webster, she wrote a book called Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. And that is very, very scholarly. It's a lot. It doesn't just talk about secret societies or conspiracies, but it talks a lot about the history of mystery schools, the occult, world revolutions, and the purpose for them. It has a ton of information about a lot of things. But it's a brilliant book, very, very meticulous and intellectual. You can tell Nesta Webster is probably one of the most well-read, knowledgeable women in history. Then after her, there was another book called Occult Theocracy by Edith Starr Miller. That also talks a lot about secret societies, the Illuminati, Freemasons, a lot of other groups. And that's also considered a very good book about secret societies. You can download these books for free on the internet, just like I said, the same websites, or order paperback copies. There's no excuse to not to know these things. And in the 1800s, there were a bunch of other books too. I don't remember them right now, but um, even there's even books from insiders, such as Dr. Carol Quigley. He wrote a big book, almost 1,000 pages, called Hope and Tragedy. And this guy was an insider. He worked with elites, and he was even Bill Clinton's mentor. And he admitted that in his experience working with really high level elites in government and politics, that there was, I mean, I don't think he used the word Illuminati, but he admitted that there was a cabal, a secret group of rulers, ruling elites that control things in the shadows. So they're like a shadow government really high on up. And he admitted that this was a reality, that they existed. And, you know, they have a lot of secret societies, you know, such as the Bilderbergs, the CFR, which is the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission. Okay, these are high-level secret societies for politicians and media moguls. And those are very real groups. Okay, and they meet in secret. It's a well-known fact. I'm sure you've heard of them before, but the thing is, there are a lot of insiders that have revealed that there is a plot for a new world order. There are these controllers, these elites, these groups. They control the banks, they control media, government, military. A lot of insiders have said this. You got to understand, Darryl. You obviously have not worked in a position. I mean, you haven't worked with elites. You haven't been in high levels of power. Even people, okay, who are involved with the mafia or were involved with the mafia at high levels, even they know that there are secret, shadowy figures at the top that are pulling the strings, pulling the puppet strings. And you know, a popular conspiracy researcher named Jordan Maxwell talked about this. He said that his wife knew before she had connections with the mafia and knew people in it at high levels. And when Jordan Maxwell talked to them, they told him that the people that are running the government and the banking cartel and the media, they're so high up that you'll never see them, and probably they're not even human. I don't know if that's true or not, but people on the inside have said that, and maybe it's true. Okay, Darryl, don't just close your mind right away. I mean, your mind is like a Venus flytrap. It's so quick to close. It's a knee-jerk reaction. So that's interesting. Maybe it's true. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. You know, you got to understand that. Truth is not always logical, and it's not limited by possibilities. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. You got to keep that in mind. So, anyways, even people in the mafia that have worked with powerful people know that there's a conspiracy. There's a cabal of elite rulers that pull the strings. You know, a group. You know, you might have heard like the Committee of 300s or the Round Table or something like that, or supposedly there's different levels, and at some level there's a bunch of families controlling things, and then above that there's less people controlling things. So the point is, people that have worked at high levels in politics and government, and even in the mafia, they know this, okay, because they are insiders. They've been on the inside. You and I haven't, Darryl. Okay, I mean, have you ever been in a high position of power? Have you worked with elites? Have you worked with billionaires? Have you worked with the people that run the government, the media, the banking system? Have you been part of a high-level secret society before, like the CFR or the Bilderberg groups or the Trilateral Commission? No, you haven't. You have not worked with elites. You have not worked with powerful people, okay? So you don't know, okay? You're not an insider. So why don't you listen to people that are insiders? Dr. Carol Quigley is not the only whistleblower. There are others, okay? And there are quotes from powerful elites like the Rockefellers and the Warburgs. The Warburgs are the ones that they're the ones that set up the Federal Reserve banking system in America. A group of powerful bankers did it, but the Warburgs played the central role in that. And even James Warburg, son of Paul Warburg, he even said that they want a world government, they want a new world order, they want a global government. And that is documented. It's even in Wikipedia. I'll show you the quote. I'll paste it below in the description section. Even David Rockefeller said that he is involved in a conspiracy or a plan for a global government. That's out in the open. It's not even classified anymore. It's not even a secret. It's out in the open because they're so confident they can pull it off. I mean, I hope they fail, of course, and I hope they don't succeed. But you can't deny that the plan is there because it's been admitted to. It's out in the open. Okay. And maybe people like Alex Jones or David Icke, maybe they exaggerate a lot, okay? Maybe they say things that aren't true and some things that are true, okay? But it doesn't mean there's not a plot for a global government or a one world government. The plot can still be there by elites and powerful people, but it doesn't mean that maybe they don't have as much power as Alex Jones claims they have, okay? Maybe you would be right about that, okay? But but Alex Jones and David Icke are like anything. They're like the Bible, they have good information, bad information. They have facts and they have wrong facts and they have exaggerations. So, it's a mixed bag. I mean, nobody's completely right or wrong. I think everyone has some degree of truth in their theories, in their ideas. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't just dismiss Alex Jones and David Icke as being completely wrong about everything. I know you don't say that, but that's what you act like. You act like they have nothing to contribute, so you never listen to them. And maybe you're not interested in listening to them. That's fine. I'm just saying that they are not wrong about everything. They are right about some things. And David Icke isn't only right about spiritual things. He's right about stuff like the New World Order or government conspiracies and crimes. He does have a lot of facts in that area, and even his critics acknowledge that. So what I'm saying is this is out in the open. There's a lot of research on it. There's a lot of insiders like the Rockefellers, the Warburgs. There's even American presidents that have talked about a hidden cabal running America. I have a list of quotes, so I'll send them to you. I'll post some below. So even high-level politicians have admitted this. There's just, I can't quote everything or tell you all the evidence because there's just so much of it. But I can give you some to show you that there is evidence. So you were wrong when you acted like there's no evidence. You acted like there was zero evidence of any conspiracies or cabal or shadow government. And that is totally wrong. I mean, that's like me looking at a mountain and saying, oh, there's no mountain. It doesn't exist. What you got to remember, Darryl, is that you can't walk into a library, okay, and look at an entire bookshelf and say, I don't like this book, I don't like this subject, so I'm going to wave my hand and dismiss it, and it'll disappear from reality. It'll vanish out of existence because I don't like it, so I dismiss it. And the entire bookshelf, hundreds of books are just gone because I don't like it. I mean, Darryl, you're not the master of the universe. You can't just erase hundreds or thousands of books just because you don't like them, just because you're not interested. They're still there, okay? The books are there. The conspiracy books, the documentation, the historical evidence, the literature, they're there, okay? They're real, okay? They're not invisible. They're not false. They haven't vanished. They're there, okay? And if you were honest, you should deal with that and address it and say, okay, there is evidence of this conspiracy thing, a lot of it. But if you're not interested in it, just say you're not interested. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, but it's, if you think about it, I'm not trying to point fingers, but if you think about it, it's dishonest to say that it doesn't exist just because you don't like the subject or you don't want to believe in it. You know, you cannot prove a negative. You can't say something doesn't exist. That's an extreme claim. And anyone who knows about logic and philosophy knows that. Okay, so if I were you, I wouldn't make such extreme claims like that and act so certain, because you can't be certain. You don't know the subject. You don't research it. You are not well read and educated in this subject, obviously, and I am, because I've read books on this subject. I know the evidence. I know the insiders, the whistleblowers. I know a lot about this subculture. Okay, and it's not a matter of me believing in it and you don't. Okay, it's these are the facts, and you can deny it, but that looks foolish. It's like denying the wall behind me, or denying that there's mountains outside, or denying the air. I mean, or denying the clouds, or denying the waters. So you see what I mean? I mean, you can say that you don't believe in something, but I mean, it just undermines your credibility. It makes you look very, I don't know, very closed, or very ignorant or whatever, but it just undermines your credibility when you make those extreme statements that are not only false, but you're not qualified to make them because you don't know anything about the subject. So it's not just a matter of me believing in the Illuminati and you not, and that's it. No, this is not about my belief. These are facts. This is documented evidence. Okay. And if you deny them, you're denying reality. That's a fundamental character flaw. It's a logic flaw to deny something that's factual and real, and to deny tons of evidence, real evidence, not fake evidence, real evidence. So it's not a matter of, I mean, you can't just say you don't believe it and that's it. Okay, you got to deal with the facts. Facts. Like I said, you can't walk into a library store or a bookstore and say, I don't like this bookshelf, so all the books are gone. They don't exist. No, they still exist. They're there. Okay, so whether you believe it or not, they're still there. Okay, and why don't you deal with that? You seem very honest. You seem like a truth seeker. You seem like a very reasonable, responsible, authentic, intellectual man who can think. You're a thinker like me. So why do you want to deny something that exists and claim that, oh, I choose not to believe in it, so it doesn't exist for me? No, you can't choose to believe in it. I mean, it's like you can't choose to believe that the mountains don't exist. You can't choose to believe that the air doesn't exist, or that gravity doesn't exist, or that the wall behind me doesn't exist. Okay, those things exist. You can't just choose not to believe in them. So it's a foolish statement to say that you can just choose not to believe in something and it'll go away. No, it's still there. Okay, and this is very simple logic. I don't understand why some people don't get the simplest things. I mean, why can't people be more logical? I don't get it. There are so many illogical people, but I guess, like they say, most people are not completely logical about everything. Most people are emotional. They're biased. People do things based on emotion, not logic. So that might apply to you. Maybe you just emotionally hate all this conspiracy stuff. You don't like all this shadowy elite stuff, and it just scares you. It's just unpleasant for you, and it's just unattractive to you, and you just don't like it. So you emotionally push it away. If that's so, then you're being emotional, not logical. And I've been told by a lot of people that that's how humans are. They're not logical, they're emotional. And perhaps you are emotional on this subject because you're not facing and accepting the obvious facts and evidence. If that's so, then I don't know. Then I'd be surprised because you sound and act like a very logical, sensible person. You sound very intellectual, very authentic. You sound educated. So how can you be so illogical and emotional about something like this just because you don't like something? Then it doesn't exist. I mean, that's not true. I mean, so I'd be surprised if that was the real reason why you would just deny something that's real. And you're not stupid. If you wanted to, you could go research all of this stuff and know the same stuff that I do. You could have the same knowledge as I do. I mean, you're not stupid. You're educated. You're intelligent. You could learn all this stuff and research it and know the same thing as me. If you wanted to, that is. But obviously, you're not interested in it. So, but either way, I'm surprised that you would be like this because you don't. I mean, you seem like a very logical, intelligent person. So, uh, I don't know. I guess people are just different, and some people just do that. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect either. Nobody's perfect, but I just wanted to point this out to you. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'll show you the quotes and the links and the sources and the documentation below. And you cannot with an honest face look at all the evidence that I'm going to post in the description below and say that it doesn't exist or that there's no evidence of any conspiracy or Illuminati, because there is. So you can't deny it with a straight face anymore. So I hope you maybe will accept the reality and the truth and maybe revise some of your viewpoints. And if you don't care about the subject, why don't you at least be honest like George Washington was and say, okay, the Illuminati exists. There is a conspiracy to take over the world or the government or something. There is a new world order, but I don't care about it. I'm not interested in the subject, and so I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to research it. At the very least, you could be honest and say that, rather than just pretending it doesn't exist, and which is false. So I hope at least you can consider this and maybe revise your view or update it to the evidence. That way, that is the mark of a real truth seeker. That is, and you've written about this in your books, like Reality Check. You know that one is supposed to update their beliefs to fit the evidence. You don't deny the evidence because it doesn't fit into your beliefs. You're supposed to update your beliefs to fit the evidence. And I think you've even written about that in your book, Reality Check. So why don't you do it yourself? Why not? I mean, I follow this most of the time, that is. So why don't you follow what you preach, too? I don't know. Okay, I'm getting repetitive here, so I guess I should stop. But bottom line, there's a lot of evidence, and I've given you some, and there's just so much more. And yeah, you should read more books, Darryl, not just about stuff you're interested in, but about this kind of stuff you're talking about, so you can make more qualified statements, because some of the statements you make, such as the stuff about denying the Illuminati because of one little trivial thing, that is very, very unqualified, okay? Totally baseless. So, I would suggests that you don't pretend to be an authority on something you're not. I mean, that looks pompous and arrogant. It looks foolish too. I mean, and it's illogical as well. So hope you think about it, and hope you learn something from this too. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and keep up the good work with your videos, Darryl, and this goes for anyone else out there too who doesn't believe in the Illuminati or conspiracies or New World Order. I mean, all of what I said in this video applies to the other people that think the same way, the other disbelievers. I mean, the other people that claim there's no conspiracy. All of this stuff you should consider too, you know, to others out there, not just Darryl. Okay. So I hope you all consider what I'm saying. Okay, folks. Goodbye. Talk to you next time. One more thing, Darryl. I remember in your Illuminati video, you mentioned Mark Dice as a conspiracy author. I don't know if you've read his books or not, but he has quite a lot of books. And if you haven't read his books, I suggest you read some of them, especially the ones that talk about the Illuminati, like Inside the Illuminati or Facts and Fiction about the Illuminati. His books are actually pretty short, so you can read them probably in a few hours. They're not that long, but they document a lot of the stuff that I told you about in this video, and a lot about the evidence for the Illuminati and the New World Order and conspiracies in general. So I strongly recommend you read it, and I don't know why you mentioned Mark Dice in your video if you've never even read his books. I assume if you mention Mark Dice, you must be aware of his work. So why haven't you read any of his books or seen his videos? Okay, he's not some crackpot. I mean, he will debunk things that are not true. He will debunk conspiracies that have no basis or that are too ridiculous. So he's a skeptic too. He doesn't believe in every crackpot theory. He'll dismiss people and researchers and even some insiders and whistleblowers that he thinks are not credible. So he's very skeptical too. He doesn't believe in a lot of crap out there too. He'll call it as he sees it. He'll dismiss people that he thinks are not credible or that are crazy or lying or shills or just BSing. So Mark Dice is actually one of the more credible people. He's more balanced. He believes that in some of the conspiracy stuff and admits that it's true, like the New World Order or the Illuminati or the secret societies or the plot for a world government. I mean, that is too obvious. You can't deny that. So Mark Dice doesn't deny that. He is very well aware of that, but you know, he also debunks a ton of crackpot theories and a ton of crackpot people as well. So he's a very good, well-balanced source that you can read to familiarize yourself with the evidence out there that it seems like you don't know about Darryl. So why don't you read some of his books about the Illuminati? He has like 2 or 3. And they're not big. They're pretty short. They're maybe 100 or 200 pages. So and they're easy to read. I mean, they're written very well. So you could probably read them in one day, maybe 2 days. They're easy to read and understand, and they contain a lot of evidence and documentation, and they're sourced and cited. So I would strongly recommend you do that. There's actually a lot of good conspiracy authors out there that I could name, but since you mentioned Mark Dice in your video, I would suggest starting with him. I mean, he is easy to read. He's not overly meticulous. He gets the point. He's easy to read, and he's easy to understand and follow too. So yeah, I would recommend starting with that. And if you're interested in the subject more, I can give you more resources and citations and maybe some really good documentaries to watch. There's even a British documentary by the BBC that talks about the Illuminati and how it existed back in the late 1700s. And so it's a pretty informative documentary. I'll try to send you the link to that sometime, or maybe post it in the comments section below. It's about a 2-hour documentary, and it talks about the history of the Illuminati. So this is a BBC documentary. It's not a crackpot film. Okay, it's a BBC. It's credible. It's authoritative. It's well sourced. It's well documented. Okay, so even this BBC documentary admits the Illuminati existed, and so you really have no more excuse, Darryl, to deny it anymore. You don't. There's no excuse now. You have tons of credible sources, including the BBC, that admit the Illuminati exists. I mean, the BBC isn't sure that the Illuminati exists today, but it admits that it's a possibility, a strong possibility, but it's not sure for the reasons I mentioned earlier. But it does admit that it did exist. Okay, so either way, you can't claim that it never existed. Okay, you don't have an excuse if even the BBC says it. Okay, well, have a great day. Talk to you next time. Bye.